Not unusual. Why is this a little? I just realized I was a little muffed off right there. What's going on, everybody? Truth will set you free. Episode 153, featuring Casey, me, featuring myself. I don't know how to do it. Anyways, like this video, share this video. We also, as you may have been teased, Rocky Stucci is on his way back. Right meow. He had a dog issue. He had a dog and whatever situation. And if you're wondering why we're late and why I'm looking down, it's because my screen, my second monitor, is not working. Cue Casey to make fun of me using a Mac. Go for it, Casey.
Max, I already did. I posted it on Facebook. So everybody's already over.
Anyways. We're going to let some people join us. Rocky, again, is on his way. Ava, hello. Everybody put something in the comments. Like this video. Share this video. I'm rocking the Truth Will Set You Free shirt. Casey, my man, wearing Live Each Day since we're about I don't even know what day it is in September. About 2 weeks off of the Live Each Day, like 9/12/01. Remember when we actually liked each other? Yeah, there it is. So go ahead and check this out at the awakenotwokestore.com. I hate looking down like this. I know how ridiculous it is that I'm looking down. But here it is. It is right there. Awake Not Woke Store. Use Awake for 15% off. There you have it. We have got a crap ton of topics today, whatever we don't get to. And we're going to carry on. And Casey, if you want to join the Stucci and Russo show, Rocci and Russo show for a little bit, if there's some topics out of this whole cluster F of a mess that we're going to be talking about that you want to talk about, join us on that. So today we are going to be talking about Biden, talking about LLJ Cool, that boy LLJ Cool and his big muscles, whatever. And then also the fact that he made a comment saying that he has been to every mass shooting. Anywho, Snoop Dogg is clearly getting paid by the Biden campaign, as he is pretty much saying, if you vote for Trump again and again, not necessarily a Trump supporter in any way, shape, or form, but he's yelling at people for thinking about voting for Trump. There ain't no way you can vote for Trump. Smoke some weed. Travis Kelce is now a puppet of Big Pharma now that he is munching on the box that is, Tay-Tay. Rudy Giuliani, hydroxychloroquine. There's so much to talk about. I don't know how far we're going to get. So that's the teaser for now. Casey, you had a big week in Utah. Tell me about it.
Yeah, a lot of things. We had a big event for Phil Lyman. He is exploring running for governor. We had that as a big car show / event on Saturday. That was awesome. We wish more people would have shown up, but we are competing with a lot of other car shows. It's the end of the season here in Utah, so it becomes super big on Saturdays. Car shows are everywhere, but it was awesome. It was good. I talked to Phil. We also have some issues here going on in Utah. Like Apple Valley, Utah is a small town of about 1,000 people. They are out of water, and it's because of mismanagement. Their government, like their leadership locally, just failed them.
Whoa. You're telling me that local government has failed someplace?
Well, yeah, it helps when it fails when you have idiots that take an elected position thinking that it's just comfy. They don't have to do anything. They just get the position, and then they don't have to do anything with it. And that's
speaking of getting in the position and not doing anything with it. That's Rocky's favorite position from the backside. Rocky is actually backstage. He made it. We're still on the intro, Stooch. I had some technical difficulties, so we might as well bring you up on to the proverbial stage. Stooch, give me a thumbs up if you're ready. He's ready. That's a weird looking thumb. That is a weird thumb.
Right? Like, can your thumb touch your wrist?
I think he's either faking.
Are we hot,
bro? What? I thought you were faking talking. That was weird.
What's going on, everybody?
This is just everybody's update on what's going on in life before we get into the mess that is 87 topics. So what happened with the dog?
I'm a hero. I just want to start off by saying that I am a hero. So he went home today. I had him for a week. He somehow immediately broke through into our yard, and I didn't have the security barrier set and established yet in my yard yet because it was so quick. And so he got out of my yard. So he double escaped, brother. And so I started driving down the street, and I seen him. I freaked out a little bit. I'm not a professional at finding dogs running away. You know what I'm saying? And so I pulled over 3/4 of the block down. Don't ask me why I did that. Do not ask me why I didn't drive closer to him. I panicked a little bit. And I'm like, give me a baby boy. you know, real loud. People are looking at me like, dude, who are you talking to? Throwing a dog for a block around, you know? And, but long story short, dude ran, he thought I was playing with him. And then he ran all the way to the 1187, the highway. And dude, I freaked out. I started shaking. And finally I had to grab him. He kind of snipped at me a little bit because I grabbed him quick because I didn't know what he was going to do. And I went right for his collar. And so he gave me a little snip when I did that. But dude, I did dog whisperer stuff and I followed through and I didn't panic from the little snip. You know what I'm saying? Thank you.
Good job. Good job. I found out that I think Woody's got kennel cough.
Oh.
He's 3. There's no reason to get kennel cough. Whatever. I'm like, he's gagging, he's choking. I don't know what's going on. Oh, needless to say, I think he's going to be
very invaluable information.
Yes, I would love very invaluable information.
So, folks, if you have those dogs like Chihuahuas, they have that reverse sneeze thing going on, or that weird. Yeah. So, do you know? And I just learned this, that if you just with your finger push right underneath their nose, and then away, just keep doing that, and then rub their throat, it makes it stop and go away almost immediately. Thank you.
No kidding.
You are welcome. Number 2, Hero Stucci, right here.
I love it. Stucci, I'm going to take you off and bring you back on. You're like, you're about a smidge second, but I don't know what's going on. Let's try. Talk again. There it is. Okay. Talk again.
I'm good.
Is he on, Casey, or am I nuts?
I think he's on. I think you're nuts.
I think it's kind of all of the above.
Oh no, you're on now. You're on now. I thought he was a split set, like there was a fraction of a second off. Anyways, let's go ahead and start this friggin' show. So many things to talk about. Let's kick the tires, light the fires. Where is it? Let's go.
Damn, Max.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, episode 153, season 3. Truth will set you free. Special guest host Rocci, the Stucci. I'm your host, Anthony Russo, Casey Rasmussen, and we're going to be talking about Biden's amazingly racist week. Snoop Dogg talking about anti-Trump rhetoric that he clearly got paid for. Travis Kelce being a shill for big pharma. Rudy Giuliani being sued by Hunter Biden because guess what? The laptop is beyond true. Hydroxychloroquine. We're going to talk about all the things. Whatever we can get to, that's what we're going to talk about on this week's episode of Truth Will Set You Free. Now, before we get started, please like this video, share this video, so as you can see, we are low on viewers. I don't know if you saw the post that I put up, but we are getting, we have our reach diminished. We've been demonetized because a post that Casey put up, not his fault, because God knows I don't know if you saw this, Rocci. So he put a post up on around September 12th that I had I'm like, why are we not getting any views? The post that he put up was very simple. It was, there is actual quote unquote insurrectionists because they had broken into the Capitol and they were, what was it for? AIDS or something like that?
Yeah. So there's an AIDS program that just ended and a bunch of people went into freaking Kevin McCarthy's office at the Capitol and overtook his office and were protesting. They were yelling and screaming and sitting down and putting their hands up and all of this stuff. And I said, will they be charged with an insurrection?
A legitimate question, very legitimate question.
And that was all he said. That was it. And that has been my first violation in about a year. I always say that at least on Facebook, I can get away with a little bit more than I can even on Instagram, which I know is meta, and then definitely compared to TikTok and YouTube. But that is what demonetized our page. And I have a feeling that as a preview and also demonetized and squashed our reach. That is, I think, the future of the next year as we lead into the next election. I'll give a quick update on cash real fast. We're believing January or February. I think Erica has a set date that she thinks that it's going to happen, but it's not set in stone. The problem with all of this is he's being told that he cannot have social media when he gets out for 6 months because he'll be in a halfway house. We're trying to determine if he's allowed to be on social media, just not on his own page. So we're working on getting those details. I think it's absolutely ridiculous if they don't don't allow him to make appearances on social media, especially since that is his livelihood, because he will be a felon when he gets out, and people want to hear what he's got to say, and that is his way to make money for his family, which they've already stripped for 3.5 bullshit years. Let's see. We got somebody watching from Australia. Love it. And on the bottom, that's how you can support the page. Aside from the gear that we have, you got patreon.com// Be the Change USA, or you can drop a little Be the Change USA on Venmo, because people already think I'm a grifter. So we might as well say it. And I don't make any damn money anyways. I lose money on this stuff. So thank you. Oh, and here's a cup from wakenotwokestore.com. Let's get the party started. Okay, Rocky, do you have anything else before we get going?
No, I feel really good about everything, but I do notice the little technical issue on my side that I've been working on the back end while you were talking. I think it's looking pretty good.
Yeah, you're fine. Yeah. And I'm looking down. The fact that you already started the episode saying you were working on your backside is really, really disgusting.
Well, I did go to the pharmacy. Folks, I'm telling you, I called Russo. I'm like, brother, tell you and Casey, I'm really sorry, man, because it seems like every time we try to hook up, there's always something. Chasing the dog aggravated, man. And I'm kind of tripped out when this happens. I don't know how to psychologically handle it. Us dudes, folks, listen, we're not as tough as we act. Okay. Thank you.
I am. You're just a pansy.
True.
I was just going to say, speak for yourself, but that's all right.
Casey's still a spring chicken. Rocky, you might as well have been in the AIDS office, in Kevin McCarthy's office talking about the AIDS stuff. You look like you're dying from your pain meds. And I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
It's weird, Jim.
So what is the difference? I'm trying to understand when we sit here and we measure, and we're sitting here trying to understand, okay, they go after conservatives for certain things, but they don't go after liberals for certain things. It's okay for certain radical leftists to go into Kevin McCarthy's office and the news praises it, just like they did George Floyd's protests. But if a conservative does it, or even brings a Bible on the street, it's hate speech, it's radical right-wingers.
Unreal.
How do we figure this out? Is there a book or a guide somewhere that we can follow so we understand where people stand? It's confusing to me.
It's a great question. I just know that we're in a place where all the social medias are against us, and now Rumble's being attacked. If you've paid attention to that, Casey, do you know the details of, UK, I know, is attacking Rumble. They're messaging to demonetize Russell Brand on all different platforms, YouTube, etc. And what's exactly happening to Rumble? I know it's a side subject, but do you know?
So a lot of companies are pulling their ads and their ad spending from Rumble because Russell Brand is still on their platform. But Rumble's standing by. He's innocent until proven guilty. Like, you are literally pulling this off of an assumption and an allegation, I should say. That's a better term. Allegation. Because I'm not saying he's innocent.
What I add is 10 years old, by the way. Yeah. Ironic timing, 10 years old.
So the whole issue I have with this is, if he did something wrong, yeah, shame on him, 100%. But ultimately, we don't need to be deplatforming him or demonetizing him until actual data comes out and he is being charged with something. Right now, it's an allegation. You know how many allegations are filed against people and they're not even true, especially men and high-profile men? It happens all the time. Right. So when it comes to this stuff, take it with a grain of salt, be aware of it, but you don't need to be ruining a man's livelihood because he's making a living off of the internet and has a solid podcast and following, and you try to remove him. That's what the UK government is trying to get behind. Walmart, I think, is also around pulling their ads. No, not Walmart, excuse me. Walmart, I hate you, but I think your name out. It's BK Lounge. Burger King, they are pulling all ads from Rumble, saying because of Russell Brand.
That's unreal. And Ronnie, you're right. Guilty until proven innocent these days. You left off an important part, though. If you're conservative, you're guilty until, and honestly, not even conservative. Look at RFK. If you go against the mainstream, you are guilty until proven innocent these days. I have some kind of hair in my throat. It's a lot. I don't know what's going on. Dog hair. Hold on. There's something going on.
The sound effects are fantastic. Oh,
goodness.
DC, get some music going, bro.
Yeah. And hey, They have not ruined our lives. They're trying to ruin our lives, and we are not the minority. That's the crazy thing. We're a bunch of pansy asses. That's the crazy thing. But the fact is, we don't have the megaphone that they do. The last thing I'll say about the censorship that we're dealing with is, I was doing some quick live videos, and I don't know if Casey had the same issue. I was seeing 40, 50, 60 live viewers when I was going live. Typically, when we have our typical algorithm, that would translate to anywhere from 2,000 to upwards of 20,000 of eventual views. Because if you have a decent amount of live viewing, the algorithm will trip. But since they've removed the ability for the algorithm to work in our favor, those 50 views live end up being a 300 viewed video, which is unfortunate. And there's a lot of people that have messaged us saying they don't see any of our stuff going.
So there's a guy that we know. I think he has like 830,000 people on his page, and whenever people go live, maybe 8-9 people, maybe 30-40 people actually see it when it goes live, because there's people out there that fight and say that this suppression is not actually happening, and it's just like, how do you not see what is that? That's why I no longer question Nazi Germany anymore, brother. I don't question the human reaction to being told what to do.
Meanwhile, Occupy Democrats puts a picture of whatever that they want up there, and it gets reshared, and every single one of their followers has it in their feed, and even people not in their feed. So whatever. What do we want to talk about first? We got so many things. I didn't even give you the rundown, Rocky, but thank God you are much more talented than you are a looker. Let's go ahead. I love you, buddy. Casey, were you able to pull up the LLJ? Wow, that is. Hold on a sec. I gotta. Oh, he moved it. Dang it! That whole eye thing you had going on was Google. You looked a little bit. You looked like a Republican or Democrat senator in their 90s. That's what you looked like. It's like Dianne Feinstein.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I have your attention, please? Just give me more tax money. Just give me more of your money, and I'm going to do everything for you. I'm going to save you, okay?
I go ahead and throw the squirrel up. Speaking of taxes, because I was listening to Crowder today. At what point do we stop? Like the thing is, they've set the system up. Like, I'm an independent contractor. I work for myself. So I have to pay taxes at the end of the year because they tell me to. But if we were all set up like this is why they don't like 1099 employees. If we're all set up like this, where everybody had to pay at the end of the year or pay quarterly, we could fight back way easier. Everybody can go, I'm not paying for vaccines. I'm not paying for Ukraine. I'm not paying for all this stuff. I'm not paying my taxes. Problem is, we've created a system of W-2'd employees, and it just comes out.
No, I will argue with you on that.
Go ahead.
One.
Give it to me.
People are going to still pay their taxes. The reason why is the government can take your home and every asset you have if you don't pay those taxes. People are not willingly able to stand up in a unified sense and cause the government to challenge millions of people. That is the only way you can do that in taxes, is you have millions and millions and millions of people all do it at the same time. You don't have that many people with the strength to do that. Well, and so that is why it will not happen.
We don't disagree, but I'm saying the fact is, if you had 200, if you have a workforce of, I don't know how many are not children, whatever, but say you have a workforce of 220 million people. Out of those 220 million, how many of them are W-2 employees and how many are 1099? The W-2, it automatically comes out. So that means the amount of people that could technically fight the system are what, 3, 4, 5 million people that are independent contractors. So if the percentage starting point is so much, the numbers are so much lower to start, if you can only get 10%, you're talking about a blip on the radar. Whereas if you've got 200 million people and you at least get 10%, that's 20 million people not paying their taxes. And then that would snowball. We just don't have a chance to do that.
No, here's the thing. You have the ability to do it. There is an option. It's called exempt on your paperwork that you file in your the W-4 that you fill out when you are hired.
1099 or W-2, W-9.
W-2 is your taxes, is what you file. A W-4, I think, is what you fill out when you get hired.
If you're a W-2, I don't even know. I haven't been a W-2 employee forever.
So
but
in a W-4, there is a checkbox that is exempt, and they will not remove any federal taxes. It is your responsibility to file them appropriately. When you do
but nobody does that.
Well, but if you could get together a campaign of enough people doing it, yes, it could work. But that's the same thing as a W-2 or a 1090. Well, not a W-2, as a 1099 employee. No one will do it. And I have family members, and I have a family member that even committed suicide trying to take on property taxes with the government because it is so exhausting and it wears on you.
Yeah, and most people, if there's the option of just having it done for you, most people are going to take the easy way out. But the government has lulled us to sleep. That's plain and simple.
Well, if we really want to think about a lot of different of the psyops that we're experiencing, is look at January 6th. Look at what they did with Stuart Rhodes. I've known the Oath Keepers. I've been talking with the Oath Keepers for years, and regardless of what they put on the main stage, I think the concept of uniting first responders, firefighters, veterans, military personnel, people that have understandings of water systems, and because we can't always guarantee that our government is going to sustain electricity and make sure that we have the fundamentals that we need to survive as a society. They break that apart. I mean, just to support what you guys were just saying, they break that apart because they need people to be so desperately insane that the only savior we can have is Big Daddy, government. It's not going to be us or the people because we're too idiotic to unite. We're sitting here fighting over cutting a penis off a child instead of actually looking at the bigger picture and saying we need to start, you start getting the pitchforks, start having conversations,
It's all messaging. It's the ability of demonizing anything. It's the mirror. We're just focusing on the wrong stuff. It's distraction, smoke, and mirrors. And because they can demonize anything that comes out of our mouth as irrational or racist or transphobic or homophobic, whatever it is, all the phobics, they're taking away from the actual logic that actually protects us as individuals. So you're absolutely right. Oh, okay.
Weaponization of language, man. That's the weaponization of language. Nobody would have ever thought. Everybody thinks that war is with guns and bullets and new drones and technology. And it's literally through language. They're taking the man out of the man strictly by saying, if you act like a man, we're going to attack you. You know what I mean?
I'm going to go ahead and jump the gun and go to our last topic. One of the ones I didn't know because I think it fits into this, the way that they spin and manipulate information. So the fact that they have called the Republican Party has been referred to as fascist by the left and the end of democracy as we know it.
And just like that, we lose Russo as the end of we know it. Him and his internet.
That's not me.
No, that's him.
Yes. Thank you. Texas.
I don't know what topic. Let me see what topic. Let me pull this up here.
Yeah, I'm having an issue too. I mean, I'm watching myself talk 5 minutes ago right now. It's really weird.
Oh yeah, I'm seeing StreamYard must be having issues.
Well, it's it could be all of our sexiness too. That is a problem sometimes when we do radio, when you just bring too much power sexiness to the airways. It just overwhelming the system,
I'm curious, everybody in the comments, do you see Russo frozen, or do you hear us just like Russo's gone? He's lost it. There you go.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Russo, thank you. We love you, bro. You got okay, now let's talk about aliens. All right.
Let's talk about aliens. Which aliens? Illegal aliens or aliens from outer space?
I heard a ding.
Yeah, my work stuff. Let me get rid of it.
I would actually. Was that part of your guys' topic? I don't know what was on the agenda tonight.
You said aliens, so I'm intrigued.
I'm intrigued of all kinds of aliens. I'm intrigued of the little grays that do all the butt work. I'm intrigued of the not intrigued, but what's the right word I want to use? The medication's kicking in, bro. It's just I literally just noticed because I literally didn't know where to go with what I was saying. It just hit me. Thank you. Hold on.
So when we're talking about aliens, do you find it kind of weird that all of a sudden the government is okay with admitting that they know aliens exist out of nowhere?
Want to see it?
You want to see aliens, or do you just want to see pictures of aliens?
No, do you want to see my injury?
Squirrel! I gotta throw another freaking you and Russo like squirrels.
Hi, Russo.
Whole house's internet just went down. It's still on weird, whatever. How choppy am I right now?
It's recovering right now.
I hate this crap. We just got a new system put in. They just came because the other system was glitchy, and now every like 30 minutes my internet goes out. Where was I? We're going to talk about RFK. Where was it? Okay, so what did you guys talk about? I was gone.
We were holding the stage. We were talking about getting ready to talk about RFK. It's kind of weird that you said that.
Yeah, because we were talking about aliens, and it just transitions perfectly into RFK.
So weird, bro. It is
RFK.
Yeah.
So I should have known someone was going as I was looking something up. This today has been a technological nightmare. But anyways, the thing is we're being manipulated as a democracy. I don't know how far I got into this, but just like rules for radicals. Were you guys listening to me when I said rules for radicals?
Yep, we heard that.
Okay. So what they're doing, what the Democrats are doing right now with RFK is actually taking away democracy. Meanwhile, they've been blaming it on the Republicans forever. So for those of you that don't know exactly what's happening, they created a new rule. The DNC has instituted a new rule that says if you've campaigned in New Hampshire, which RFK has, you therefore can't be on the ballot in Georgia, which I'll ask you, why? Like, why? It's not like you're campaigning in Russia, you're campaigning in another U.S. state. So if you campaign in New Hampshire, therefore you can't be on the ballot in Georgia, and I believe vice versa, not sure. So this rule, ask me if it makes sense. It doesn't. Tell me how it does, except for the fact that now if they want to have Newsom run or if they want to have Michelle Obama run, those two know that they have to campaign in Georgia first and then go and get their votes on a national level for New Hampshire later. So they know exactly what they have to do, meaning the only one that would be exempt is the pretty popular RFK Jr. And then let's not forget that RFK Jr. is still not getting presidential protection, even though anybody in his position would. He even had 2 family members killed while they were in government, president and running for president. I think that he deserves some presidential protection. There was a guy that had a gun coming at him at an event and still not getting it. I think what is happening to anybody that goes against the hierarchy on the left is actually losing that democracy.
They're eating their own, bro. With RFK Jr., they're going to eat him alive. I'm surprised that they're even allowing him to get away with some of the things that he's saying right now.
I'm surprised he is alive still, to be totally honest.
Seriously, I'm surprised. I'm going to say it. I'm surprised Trump is too.
I'm not, because, and here's the thing, and I'm going to bring up something that Casey and I talked about beforehand, and I appreciate those people that supported us by buying a cup or by buying a t-shirt. And look, I'm a Trump voter if it's Trump against Biden. There's no doubt about it. But there's a lot of people that are still, pardon me for getting graphic, gargling on the balls that is Donald Trump.
Yep.
When Donald Trump, we talked about this on last week's show, he had a chance to right the ship. And by righting the ship, not even admitting that he's wrong, all he had to do is go, Operation Warp Speed was rushed. The only thing he said on the Megyn Kelly interview is, I don't believe in mandates, but he still is under the guise and the belief that he saved hundreds of thousands, if not millions of lives by creating this vaccine. And there's people that literally in the comments of ordering, one person actually said, I'm sorry to call you out if you're watching, but shit, said, I hope some of this some of the proceeds are going to the Trump campaign. First off, pardon me, Nancy, Trump's fucking fine. And what Trump is doing is a massive, it's a massive grift and preying on those that are his biggest supporters. And trust me, I like Donald Trump. There's no doubt that I don't dislike, I like Donald Trump. But the fact that that the same people that worship his nuts, his balls they use them as little sacks in their eyes. I'm getting really graphic. You can throw the squirrel's nuts up if you want, but these people that are anti-vaccine, anti-everything, saying everything about this vaccine is of the devil. This is a terrible, horrible thing. The vaccine is killing people. And then in the same sentence saying that Trump is the Lord and Savior and he's going to save the nation, when Trump is literally still telling people that the vaccine saved millions of lives. You can't be in the same camp and have an actual intelligent molecule of brain in your head. I'm sorry. And what Michelle just said sums it up. Trump derangement syndrome goes for both sides nowadays, and I completely agree.
Mic drop. So you're not wrong, Russo. The bigger thing is with this whole scenario that I have in Trump, and we're definitely squirreling here. But in the issue with Megyn Kelly, when he was asked about it, and she served it up to him nice and softly and said, "Would you like a do-over?" He never said yes or no. He just moved into, "I think we did great things. I think we did great things." So he won't admit that there was nothing. There was not even a single thing that could have been done better. And I'm sorry, no one on this planet is perfect and does everything perfect at all times. And that's what he is saying is, "Oh, I did it perfect." And no. But
if we're looking, Casey, if we're looking for the person that is getting the most flack from the hierarchy, their party, from media, from everything, if that's what we're looking for, the actual change maker in this group, I'm sorry, I've said it before. As of right now, if RFK runs as an independent, people are going to hate me for this. I'm an RFK Jr. voter. I'm sorry. I know that he is a Democrat, but I don't care about party when right now the only person that is going out of the box, and Vivek is doing it as well. The question is, do we believe him? That's the thing. Is he too polished? And honestly, to me, the two front runners in this are Vivek and RFK Jr., DeSantis right behind that, then Trump, period.
I sit here and I don't disagree with anything. But I always wonder, is this, we always talk about the reaction of Trump in regards to COVID, or the reaction of Trump in regards to this or that. I just don't understand why we're not talking about the core of the issue still, just like with Hawaii. We talked about some things, now Oprah and the Rock and some crap, but we're always talking about Trump could have done better with his reaction to COVID. Absolutely. But he was also going up against the big beast, and that beast was probably responsible for some certain things. You know what I'm saying? So, why as a nation are we not talking about how COVID became a reality? Just like, why as a nation are we not talking about Epstein and Epstein's Island and all the names in that book? Why are we not talking about these things? Why are we allowing Bill Gates now to walk around with that new pen, this new world order pen that all these Hollywood elites are wearing?
Right.
And we accept it and we're all cool with it. I don't know. It's so hard to come up with the energy to try to fight against this sometimes, because we have such a majority of people on this planet that are so complacent with what's happening. And it's just like, what do you say to these people? They ultimately have to feel the wrath of that pain in order for them to understand what's really happening. I don't know what else to say.
Go ahead.
I think it goes a little bit farther than that, and then we can move on. But I think it goes farther that people don't want to step up and do the work themselves. They're expecting somebody else to come in and do it.
100%. And honestly, I think Republicans are more guilty of that from a party than Democrats, because if the Republicans had the same, they're so complacent and just angry doing what we do, and I'm guilty of it. I'm sitting right here, but I live 2 hours from a city, but sitting right here, the fact that we did not go protest about Lieutenant Governor, what's his face? Help me out. Rocky, Paxton, why that wasn't a bigger deal. What did I say?
You said Lieutenant Governor, and I was like, what?
No, sorry.
Your Attorney General is Paxton.
My bad. I always flip those. So why we didn't have protests for that, which was such an egregious overstep of power for the one guy trying to actually save the border. Why we didn't actually have riots. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say riots. Protests for what happened to the guy in New York City that saved the people on the subway, and the fact that he is facing years and years. Yeah, we'll set up not a GoFundMe. We'll set up a Give, Send, Go, and he gets $300,000. Like, the left will find somebody that was about to kill somebody with a weapon, a rapist that might be of a different skin color, that gets shot and survives the police and gets $10 million on GoFundMe. Yep. There's so much ridiculous just lack of give a shit by Republicans. I don't know what to say anymore.
Can I just say, and I know this is off direction, but this is actually a really good conversation, because I think what you just said, Russo, and Casey, what you're saying, and you're exactly right, Casey, that self-accountability shit, man, it's really tough for people to, hey, I got shit going on in my life right now, and you know what? The absolute consequences and the absolute results of what happened are based off of my actions, right?
Yeah.
It's just to a point, and somebody made a comment about voting, and there's so many things within our system that so many people have lost trust in. Does voting truly give us the power as citizens these days? Is it truly as legitimate? Do you feel 100% confident that our voting system is legitimate? Not even going into the conspiracies. Do you feel 100% confident that our politicians are looking out for the best interests of the American tax-paying citizens?
No.
Not at all, brother. And so we're to a point to where, no, I don't feel confident anymore that our vote means shit. I don't feel confident anymore that when I'm hearing those patriotic speeches and those flyovers and the big American flags, that they truly mean that. I'm starting to think that's a bunch of bread and circuses just to keep us shut up. You know what I mean? Make sure you got enough of the populations that are patriotic enough to go arm up, to go fight for this beautiful country and be brought home in boxes, for greed and oil and munitions and power and it's just so dumb, man. When you get, you ever hear of people that are called economic hitmen? Economic hitmen. I interviewed a guy about 6 years ago. I'm going to find him and bring him on the program. These are people that our government hires to go around the world to destroy economies so we can come and save them and give them loans these countries can't repay so we can take over their entire industries. It is disgusting. So I don't know. The same people that are claiming to look out for the best interests of the populations are the ones doing all the damage. So I don't know which direction to turn anymore.
Well, I was having a conversation earlier, and we're talking about the powers, and you're bringing up the vote, and I'm not talking about 2020. Do you want the truth? I don't think George Bush, I don't think he won the year of the hanging Chad. Granted, I was a Democrat then, but I didn't pay much attention. But I think the hanging Chad year was bullshit. I think that he potentially lost that election and they got the okey doke in Florida. Why? But you can go, well, what was the motivation there? Well, the Bush family loves the military industrial complex. Period. So you've got the three most complex issues that we have in this country that is rife with the most corruption. Pharmaceutical, which even Trump was in their pocket for 2016, maybe wouldn't have been as strong in 2020. I don't know. I do think his tariffs on China were one of the big reasons all of this stuff happened. And again, I agree with them, but it shows that China calls the shots on a global level like that. So you've got the military industrial complex, you've got big pharma, and there's also something else that was part of the conversation earlier. And that's why I talk a lot about water. That's why one of our sponsors is water-based, is plastics. Because as we're looking at, and a lot of us will talk about the cancer levels rising, we'll talk about infertility, we'll talk about testosterone, and we'll blame some of it on the vaccine. But honestly, the last 30, 40 years, we've been drinking more bottled water than ever. We've been microwaving our Tupperware with food in it and eating it. And we have and nobody's paying attention. This is the first time in hundreds of years that the life expectancy has gone down and modern medicine is supposed to be through the roof. I believe it's plastics. And the plastic industry is one of the biggest. It's not even a lobby. It's just big business. They don't have a lobby because they don't need it, because every business relies on the success of the plastics industry. So you're looking at something that is incredibly powerful. And at the end of the day, the American citizen and the global citizen doesn't matter. A lot of the countries in the world don't use plastics like we do. And if you're wondering why our life expectancy is going down and why our health is declining, why obesity is going up, it's because we feed ourselves plastic. It's ridiculous.
I think everything about our diet is ridiculous. I think everything about, the advice, if you go to the National Diabetes website and if you look at their daily diet, literally what they're having you eat every day as a diet is nothing but a diabetic enhancer and reasonings for you to have to take insulin throughout the day. I mean, sit there and power pack yourself with orange juice and all these things in the morning. There's ways to cure diabetes, but we don't go that route anymore because, again, let's circle back. We become so pharmaceutical dependent. What did I just do, Russo? Why was I late for the show? Because
you needed to go get your pain pills. Yeah, we are a incredibly unhealthy nation, and it's just getting worse, to be totally honest.
I feel fantastic right now, bro. I'm just saying. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Anyways, but before we go on to the next subject, and we'll try to speed through some and then we'll cover more. Somebody asked about Rocky only being on Facebook. We're going to do another show right after this, a preview of one of our last previews, by the way, of Rocci and Russo show. But talking about plastics, one of the things, I've been drinking a ton of water. I'm down almost 20 pounds at this point. I feel great. I'm 41. I work for Fox Big Noon Kickoff, and I am running around like a 28-year-old. and being able to do it. And I think, having this kind of vitality. So this is Century H2O. You can see it on the bottom, centuryh2o.com. Use Russo10 for 10% off. It's a water filtration system, goes underneath the sink. I know my mom has got it. I don't think she's installed it yet. I'm having Kelly use it actually on the horses. But we have a lot of different stuff that we use with this water. And honestly, I have felt better than I have in a long time. Granted, it's partially just because I'm drinking a gallon of water a day, but trying to get rid of all these garbage plastics that are in our systems. And we're not healthy in this country. And I think that's one of the biggest things you could do. All right. Let's see. I want to see what this says. Diabetes. I'm sorry about that. There's a lot of fat people everywhere. And a lot of it is a collection. And I mean, United States is one of the worst ones. It's a collection of misinformation. That's what I was going to say. There's one other thing I was going to say on that subject. There was an argument on a page that one of the conservatives that I know, his name's Devin, and I was talking about the importance of making your own granola. Even I make my own fresh granola, and I use coconut oil and olive oil in it. And the big thing is I started looking at all the seed oils that are in our food. And the crazy thing is he used research. He goes, I heard canola oil is healthy. And he showed me a website showing that canola oil is one of the healthiest oils you can put in behind olive oil, which is so, and this is a page sponsored by some of these major organizations.
Yep.
Canola oil is a highly processed seed oil at a ridiculous temperature using chemicals that cannot be broken down by the human body. And it's still to this day being lauded as a healthy oil. And coconut oil, which is completely natural, high in fat. And anybody that actually does their research outside of the walls of paid governmental bullshit will tell you that fat means nothing. Fat is actually healthy. So it's fascinating to me that even some of the conservatives are looking at these diet. I mean, hey, if you Google it, you can find out that canola oil is healthy, and it's just plain and simple not.
Dude,
so
I have a buddy who carries around a little bottle of the canola oil, and he uses it for sore muscle. He lives by it. He puts it in his ear.
Wait, canola or olive oil?
Canola oil.
Really?
I'm an olive oil guy. Yeah, he put canola oil in his ear, and he said that cured his tinnitus.
Well, olive oil is. I use olive oil when I've had a ear infection.
Yep,
and it worked.
I used to
olive oil and garlic.
Pour a little bit in your ear, and it'll go away.
Yeah, olive oil and garlic. That's an Italian trick, and it works.
It works.
All right. So we've talked about one thing on the list. Let's talk about. Do you have the video for Biden talking about cool JL boy?
Oh my God. I can't help but always think, what would people do if Trump did what Biden does?
Oh my God, for sweet mother F. Go for it, Case.
And two of the great artists of our time representing the groundbreaking legacy of hip hop in America, LL Cool J.
And people laugh.
By the way, that man's got biceps bigger than my thighs. I think he's spent.
All right,
and
stop
MC
it.
Light, both of you, thank you.
So he's got no idea who MC Light is. Either do I. I don't think anybody does. But the LL, first off, people thought he was making a joke. He just couldn't read LL Cool J. He made a mistake reading it. And then he said boy. And when he said boy, I swear to God, there was a dog shocker on him when he said, it's like, man, I mean, man. Somebody was in his ear going, sweet Jesus, Joe.
Yes. Let me step back for a second. Interruption. Damn. Shauna, thank you. It is castor oil. My bad, brother.
Oh, yeah, castor oil. And that's a pure oil. I mean, it's not pure, but it's a different. Yeah, that's different. You can use castor oil. Yeah.
So when do even the radical leftists start looking at this old bag of meat? And I'm literally, dude, I am so done even trying to be politically correct with this, because this is literally absurd, and we are the laughingstock of the universe. Even aliens are flying by. They're like, you know what? Let's wait a couple more years. You know,
he couldn't even shake the president of Brazil's hand last week. That's on my answer. I mean, the guy is in an absolute embarrassment. I do need to take a second and go, Henry and I actually agree on something. Henry, you and I, we just became best friends. All right. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's actually a great conversation too. Mm-hmm. There's so many things people don't know that is affecting our lives. And that's why, and Casey, you know, and I think you feel the same way. I don't even know what's real anymore. You know, when it comes to this manufactured reality of life that we live, taxes, seriously, I think we should all take a break for a minute. I think we should all stop paying them, because for one, I'm sick of paying for war. I'm sick of sending money to Ukraine. I'm sick of seeing my brothers and sisters homeless on the streets. I think we should do a little reset. Just kind of say, let's look at the books and let's kind of refigure out, how we're spending money because we have to do that at home. Why doesn't our government do it? I just, I'm kind of tired. From January to June, it's free money to the government. We work for free, literally.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, depending on how much your tax bracket, but yeah. So before we go back to the mass shooting comment from Biden, because no, we don't. You brought up an incredibly valid point about Ukraine. So we're about to have a government shutdown, right? We're going through this issue. There was a sticking point in the beginning where the Republicans are going, we can't sign this budget. We can't do this if we're giving all these billions of dollars to Ukraine. Casey, can you look up to see exactly how much we've given to Ukraine to date? To this moment. So the crazy thing is there was a statement put out by the White House saying, don't worry, even if we shut down, Ukraine will still get their payments.
Yep. I believe it was about 140 billion, and Casey confirmed that. I believe about 140 because they're going for, I think, another 60.
Is that what the deal is? So whatever they're saying, Ukraine. So we're not going to be able to go to federal parks. Those people that have jobs in the United States of America working for the federal government, aside from the politicians, they're not going to be able to work if we shut down. But don't worry, we'll continue to pay Ukraine. And not only are we paying Ukraine for the military aspect, part of our funding, I found out today, again, thank you to Crowder, that, and I cross-referenced it, I believe as though they've got 57 or 37,000 first responders in that country, and that whole fund is being paid by the U.S. government. So we're paying for their first responders, and then on top of it, we are paying for seed, fertilizer, and paying the farmers of Ukraine to produce food for that country.
That's
so
right.
It's no longer humanitarian aid. It hasn't been that for well over a year. So we're funding their military. We're funding their services that should be paid for by their own government, and we are funding their food system. Like, how ridiculous is this at this point? And the left doesn't see it.
I don't know for sure, because I think this would technically qualify World War III, because I do believe just within the last couple of days, there's been some German soldiers that have been killed by the Russian military, and some German equipment that was manned by German. So not private industry militants that were hired like contractors. These were legitimate German military soldiers that have now been killed from the Russian army.
Were they in? Where were they? Were they fighting in Russia, or were they in Germany?
In Russia.
Well, that's not war at that point, because they've now encroached. I mean, you're saying World War for the fact that Germany has now entered the war in Russia.
German military personnel have been killed.
And whatever you want to say about Russia, let's not forget that anybody that actually looks at how this started is Ukraine violated, and the United States and Ukraine and UK violated the initial ceasefire treaty that was created for NATO to not expand. Like, you could talk about Putin all you want, but we started this. The side that is fighting for good broke the rules of engagement on NATO.
That's right.
And you know what? You can say that that's just, and that NATO needed to expand. By the way, we fund NATO more than any other country in the world. NATO is also, and also in terms of how much money we have given, we are 6 times greater than Germany, which is second behind us. We've given 6 times the amount of money to Ukraine. I wonder why, Joseph Bidenette, like Robinette Biden, whatever the hell your stupid middle name is. Like, this is absolutely ridiculous. And the left and the establishment right is like, Ukraine. Oh. Did that get too graphic?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry.
Bro, I felt that, bro. I felt that. Hey, let me ask a question, though. What, from a humanitarian standpoint, what does Russia do from a humanitarian standpoint that China doesn't? Because if we're to compare how civilians are treated in both countries, I would say that there's more human slavery and more human rights violations in China than there would be
By
in
far.
Russia. So what
By far.
a lot of people don't even understand why we're fighting or supporting this Ukrainian-Russian situation. But what's the difference between Russia and China? Why is one our friend and the other enemy?
Well, I don't think either of them are our friends right now.
Well, they're
Are they?
Biden's friends.
What's that?
They're Biden's friends.
Well, absolutely. But in terms of the actual friend of the constitutional republic that is the United States of America, both of them pose a threat, and now together they're stronger. I mean, we've talked about that for weeks, obviously. So, I mean, I think I think China is much more egregious in their human rights violations.
Yeah.
Right now, Russia, you can never judge it correctly because it's one state media.
Right.
But as of right now, their country pride and their dollar is stronger than it's been in decades since the fall of the Berlin Wall.
GDP is on the rise.
Yeah, and we've talked about Putin having this cancer and illness forever. It seems like Putin is stronger than ever. So it's all Russian misinformation. It's just not the Russian misinformation they've claimed it to be.
There's another question I have is that what's the difference with what these cartels are doing and compared to what the Taliban does?
Great question.
You know, why are we not addressing the cartels in the humanitarian situations that we have? Because, I mean, we went to Afghanistan for the same reason. But we're allowing it to happen on our own land, our own soil. Why are we not addressing it?
There's one simple answer to both of your questions, and it is who benefits from it from the political standpoint in the U.S. government.
Amen. End of story.
And the Taliban won't give any money back to the U.S. government. And when it comes down to anything that is going on with Ukraine and Russia, Ukraine, the money's going to come back through the Biden family. That is the whole reason why we're into this predicament. And that started back when Biden was a vice president. And it laid the foundation for this whole thing to happen.
Agreed. So let's go back to Biden. So on top of his, and this is all in 1 week, obviously, apparently he also stumbled down Air Force One. And they've even mentioned yesterday that apparently they were saying that they're keeping measures to make sure that he doesn't embarrass himself or fall. They don't use those words, but regardless, he said that he was giving a speech about shootings, or I don't know what he was giving the speech about. I just saw the soundbite, and he goes, "I have been at every mass shooting." So would Biden, who is the leader of the free world that is so anti assault weapon, which by the way, he said, we will be banning all assault weapons on the White House Facebook, to which many people replied, what is an assault weapon? We still haven't had that answer. He didn't even say assault rifles. He said assault weapons. So technically, if I shove this pen up his ass, this is an assault pen. Rocky just got excited when I said something shoved up his ass. He's like, this is milk the product. There it is. So again, the vagueness of that comment, but he said, I've been at all mass shootings, but he doesn't even know that his own FBI says that mass shootings or anything is over 3 people that are shot. So that means, first off, I could tell you he has not gone to the location of what we deem as a mass shooting or school shooting, because he didn't come to Frisco or Plano after that shooting happened at the at the strip mall. He didn't come there. But regardless, he would actually be having to go to every gang shooting in Chicago. He would be living in Chicago, to which he probably would have already been capped at this point by his supposed voters, that if they don't vote for him, then they ain't actually black. So he just, the amount of idiotic, I'm not even going to say lies, the amount of ignorance and idiotic comments that come out of his mouth are not even fact checked or commented on by the left. And that is just such an issue. It's about Henry. We don't disagree. Are we on fire today, Henry?
I know. I noticed that too. I was just like, okay,
yeah. We agree. Like, Henry, you joined late. Like I slammed Trumpers. Like, I mean, I slammed George Bush. Like it's both sides. It's establishment. This is this is an anti-establishment concept and show that we have.
Let me, Michelle Rudy, she made a comment. You think Biden is getting kickbacks from the cartels in Mexico? So I'm going to say this. When I was doing the sit room with Don Newen and Donna Fiducia, we had a bus driver that works for Don, and he was down at the southern border. I can't remember what one of the big cities are that have a lot of the traffic. It's a bigger city. And this bus driver's job literally every day was to pick up the nurses at the hotel, drive them to the hospital to work, and then bring them back to the hotel for safety. That's how bad it is. The cartels have precedent in American hospitals down at the border. So if a cartel member comes in shot up, everybody gets set aside. And this cartel member goes in and gets treated 100%. And when you look at the board members of these hospitals, you have people like the Clintons and other high-ranking Democrats and Republicans that are boards of these healthcare institutes down at the southern border. So
they let it happen out of fear. It's a combination of fear and money. And Henry, I will agree with you. There is a definite bias. I think the Democrats are more evil than the Republicans across the board. That's just my personal opinion. I'm allowed to have a bias. That's why we have a show. I mean, you could have a show and have a bias the other direction and be challenged.
No.
That's fine.
It's not a bias. It's actually what's factual and what's actually out there.
All right.
Republicans are better at hiding this money that is being laundered through things. For example, if you want to know if Biden is getting kickbacks from the cartels, go look up Fast and Furious with Obama when Obama was president. He was feeding cartels with a whole bunch of guns from the U.S. government. So yes, there is a connection there. And yes, Henry, it is a little biased, but no, it is calling out what is actual factual information and is released.
Oh.
You should be able to acknowledge that Fast and Furious did exist, which would potentially impact Biden because he was vice president at the time.
You remember, in fact, we were with him, Anthony, at that red carpet event, Victor Oliva.
Yeah.
And he was a Border Patrol agent, and he makes the claim that his own government ambushed him in Mexico. His partner got killed in an ambush, and he survived the shootout. And he admits in his book that he believes it was government trying to put a hit on him because he knew certain things.
Right. No, absolutely. And honestly, the thing is this, like when you say there's a bias, we are entitled to our own opinions. And at the same token, like we've just explained, find me another conservative show. I say conservative show. Find me another one that is as middle ground as this. That allows for, even we disagree here and there. Casey's not even he didn't even vote for Trump in 2016 or 20. I mean, he's a libertarian, and I've been vocal about my like of RFK Jr., who is technically a Democrat or an independent. We talk poorly. I've gotten flack because I did the video of Mitch McConnell freezing, where people are like, do this for Biden. What about your thoughts? What about Feinstein and all this stuff? And I'm like, bro, look at the rest of the page. You can't call out everybody in one post. Like, I'm as obviously more on the conservative side, and the fact that I'm getting shit from the right because I posted the thing about Mitch McConnell shows that both sides have issues. So find me something that is as open-minded as this show. That's what I'll challenge you to do.
Well, I think that's the toxicity that's happened within our political system, even with our Supreme Court justices. I've always had the question is that why do Democrats and Republicans have to fight so hard on getting a certain judge? And if they're truly determining law based off of what's already established and not trying to manipulate law to balance one side or the other, they should be all in agreement that this is the law or not, and then dissect the language of it. But it's not that anymore, brother. It's become so far this tribe or so far that tribe. Everybody's picking their team now, and it's not logical.
Marla, you are 100% correct, but I will give him one more thing. The fact that this is why you have no credibility, Henry. So I literally just said how I slammed Trump in the beginning of the show, and then you say your boy Trump. This shows why you're a troll. This shows why you are a waste of breath, and then I waste it, and that's on me, and I'll own that, but it's also to me entertaining, so I use you to be entertained. You're probably a 42-year-old gender-neutral beta soy boy that's in your basement jerking off to pornography images of Margaret Thatcher blowing Obama or Michelle. I don't even know if it's Michelle or the other. I don't know. That's all you are. So that's why I bring it up, because it is, to me, it's entertaining, because when you prove yourself, as we've been in agreement for the bulk of the show, and then to say that shows that you're just being an ignorant thing. So I don't know. That's why I said thing. I don't know which way. So we're going to try to do one or two more quick topics to wrap up this show. Let's see. We talked about Biden and Cool JL. Snoop Dogg, we can skip that. Travis Kelce. I was a Chiefs fan. Travis Kelce went and ruined it. And he's now done the go get both your booster and your
I saw it.
your booster and your flu shot. It's like, really? You literally, all you did was you got a little bit of mainstream Tay Swift snatch, and all of a sudden you became a shill for big pharma. So that's the Kelce. Do you have any opinion on Kelce doing that before I go on?
Well, it's the typical not Hegelian dialectic, the Bernays, not Edward Bernays, how they use Hollywood for political benefit. So they'll get people, and this is how people are, bro. If The Rock or Oprah or some of these people go on, football players go on and talk about the vaccines, they're in 100%. As long as their celebrity that they're infatuated with, because they're so disconnected from their own reality, is getting a vaccine, they're going to fight for it till the death.
It's crazy.
That's scary. Hey, they were.
May I ask you, would you guys turn down $50 million to do a commercial for Pfizer?
Yeah, I would.
50 million?
50 million.
Russo, bro, Russo. No, you wouldn't.
What's the contract look like?
Russo!
Hear me out. So if the contract says that I have a gag order afterwards, that would end that. But if I had a 1-year gag order and then was allowed to speak my mind, I have to weigh the options, because what I could do with 50 million for the good could outweigh the bad. There has to be a amount of this is actually a great question. This is a really great question.
I'm feeling it, bro. I'm feeling what
because there is a lot, and I know it's a complete hypothetical and it's completely arbitrary and it'll never happen. But if it came about,
would it never happen? Travis Kelce just got paid a crap ton of money by Pfizer to do this commercial.
But if I were him, then no, because he already has money and already has a platform. Somebody like me that isn't worth 2 nickels on the dollar, it's very different. If I was so if you ask the question, if I was Travis Kelce and was offered $50 million to do it, my answer would be absolutely not. Absolutely not, because he already has the platform and he already has the financial backing. Now, if I was in my position, I would have to weigh the opportunities that could come in order to create the change that I want to create and how that window would work. If I had a lifetime gag order, it's a no question, no. But if there was a way to explain that I did it for the money, then absolutely, I would take the money and find a way to spin it.
That's a reasonable answer, brother. That's a really reasonable.
What would I do? When it comes to Pfizer, I just hate that company. Everything about it. I couldn't be associated with them, no matter the money.
Okay, Johnson. Okay, how about a vaccine commercial?
It depends on the vaccine, because it depends on what company it's with. But because when it comes to Johnson & Johnson, I hate that company too. Look at some of their history. They're just as bad. And I come from working in the FDA regulated industry. And so that when it comes to those companies, I couldn't work with them. I worked with them.
If you hated a company, would that change? Like how Casey's saying it, would that change your answer?
Not really. It really depends on the ramifications. Like it depends on the amount. It depends on there's so many different factors that make it a very difficult question. Okay, there would have to be exacts.
Casey, you're saying no just because you have a personal relationship somehow within your industries that you say they're all suck anyway, so you don't want to deal with them.
Yeah, the way they are bullies in the market, they just think they're number one in everything, and they just show that presence. And I don't like working with people like that, which is why a little bit like back to where I struggle with Trump a lot is his ego, and those type of things I'm not for, and so I usually don't associate with them.
I think what we should talk about on the next program next week is forced behavior. That's the new corporate ideology, is forced behavior. It's no longer independent thinking, it's forced. But I think that can get really involved in a conversation because there's a lot of different channels we can go. So if that's something that would interest you guys, I'd like to hit that topic sometime.
I agree. I like that. And to your point about Casey's question, like if I really dislike the company, I really dislike Pfizer, and I just said I would potentially take 50 million. So I don't think that, and to your comment, David, I'm broke I still have to sleep with myself. I've been watching way too much of Suits, but it's all about leverage. And if there is a way to sell, and I hate to say this, if there's a way to sell your soul up front to do good on the backside, and I'd almost be martyring myself because everybody would know. I know I said sell my soul and Casey freaked out when I said that, but the better way of saying is martyring yourself. If you can jump on the sword for the greater good and find a way to pay it off, you look at leverage from that perspective. And if you can leverage something like $50 million and find a way to make it work for everybody involved, I think you make it work for everybody involved.
Well, we kind of already do that in this industry because, I talk a lot of crap about the industry, but it's not all that bad. I've met people like, Russo and KC. So you do meet wonderful people, but it is a cutthroat industry. And, there is a part of you that you have to put on some blinders because if you took things personal by just some of the things you saw, you wouldn't last long in this industry. But we need this platform in order for us to be able to promote what we do, right? So we are kind of, I don't want to say selling our soul, but we are jumping.
I used the wrong terminology. I shouldn't have said selling my soul.
It's just it's a matrix of a lot of toxicity, and there is a lot of politics involved. And if you're not good at that, and if you can't absorb it, then you're not going to survive long at certain levels in the industry. But we do it because we know that what we do, that there's a greater mission and a greater cause.
Let me look at it like this, because now we're doing semantics. So what if? So take away the money and say that I had, because at the end of the day, the $50 million goes against my constitution. What I'd be doing for the $50 million goes against my constitution. And in the end, a lot of the people on this page and people that would respect me, and including myself, I wouldn't be able to respect myself. And a lot of people would hate me for it because I'd be a hypocrite. I'd be all these things. So take away the money and say that I had to do something that if I could on the back end do something for the greater good. This is a really interesting sociological question. So on the backside, I could do something amazing to change the world, but I would be faceless. Nobody would know who I am, but I'd be able to change the world. But on the front side, what people would know is that I was horrible. They would hate me. They would think that I'm sludge and slime, and I would have to live with the fact that I did something that created people to think that I was garbage. That's a tough question, because that's ultimately what we're getting at right here is I'm trying to find a way. Can I do something for the greater good to trade in some of my values up front that would create people to hate me in the front end and go against my moral code? But at the end of the day, can I help more people? That's the big question.
Yeah, it all depends, because some people are looking for the public recognition, and ultimately some people are willing to be railroaded, because at the end of the day, what their ultimate mission was is being accomplished, and they are the victim of they're the one that took the bullet for the team,
So again, we're looking, I think the 50 million was a large figure, and I think we're looking too much into the actual dollar value instead of what can be done. It's not like I'm not saying, 50 million could get me out of a couple jams. I'm saying, what can I do to change the world in a positive perspective that would outweigh the damage that would be done in the front period? Am I saying that I would 100% do it? Absolutely not. I'm saying it's more of a conversation than I hate the vaccine. It's more of you have to weigh the good and the bad and see which one you believe. It's like the quote from Swordfish that John Travolta says, would you sacrifice one person to save 1,000, or hell, would you sacrifice 100 people to save 1,000,000? So the question becomes, where does the balance weigh out? Where does the scale tip? And Danny, I don't think the Bible, I get where you're probably going on this. I don't think actually, to be totally honest, I think the Bible would actually say to find a way to create the greater good on the back end, I believe.
Well, it's not a good comparison, but when we look at the storming of Normandy and during World War II, we know for a fact that the first rush of soldiers, American soldiers, were young 17, 16, 18-year-old kids, because they had no skill sets. So our military purposely sent them in first to try to mow down as much as they could, so all the skilled personnel could come in and create communications and everything else. So yeah, they knew that they were going to massacre thousands of American citizens, but they felt that sacrifice for the greater cause was worth it.
Casey, what about the Bible that I said? Because clearly you disagreed with him.
I disagree with it because this is the beginning of temptation from Satan.
That's
and that
correct.
is where it would not be supported in saying to do it. It would be fight against it. And that is where I also believe where corruption comes into our government and politicians is they believe initially as they get into office, they are going to do great things. And then all of a sudden they take a little bit of that carrot and then they keep taking more and keep taking more and keep taking more. And then corruption takes over.
Okay, well, so let me ask this from a biblical reference then. So is the vaccines all part of God's plan?
No.
So how do you combat?
If you believe in the book of Revelations, it is.
You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
It's tough.
It
is. There's a lot of nuances. And you know, it's funny, Gary, because I'm going to keep referencing Suits. There's a part in season 7, 8, whatever it is, where Pearson, the previous head of the firm, she legit ended up getting into bed with the mayor, and her fiance or whatever, her significant other, said, "Oh, you want to do good and you're getting into bed with a criminal? You'd be the first person. You would literally be the first person in the history of the world to get to lay down with dogs and not come up with fleas if you manage to make it happen." So I think you're probably right. I think the chances of doing it would be near impossible. So that would probably weigh on me. And I'm listening to all the comments. I'm listening to what all two people on the screen are saying, including what you're saying. I think it's a much more nuanced decision than no. I'm not saying no isn't the correct answer, to be very clear. That's all. Can we do one more topic before we get out of here, and then Rocky and I do a more fun show?
Yeah, well, hey, dude, we can just keep going here and just let everybody know what's going on, because this has probably been one of the most captivating conversations I've been involved with in a long time.
Well, good. Then we'll just, do you want to wrap it? Do you just want to keep going, Casey? You got another 20, 30 minutes?
Yeah, we can make it work.
All right. So it might be shorter than that. I don't know. We don't have too many topics left.
What is this that did I already bring it up because the medication kicked in, but they removed Trump's business license in New York State?
Yeah. Epic Times has a different spin on it. I don't really know. I don't know the actual answer. It's a great question. If we want to get that up.
Well, so it says here, judge rules Donald Trump lied about his wealth for years and committed fraud by submitting false valuations to secure loans. Businesses do that shit all the time.
All the time.
You know, this mouse right here, it's worth at least $80. At least $80.
It's a common business practice. Do
you think politicians should all submit their tax records before they can run for office? Do you think that's too much?
No.
I don't think so either.
Falls under the Nunya category.
The what?
Nunya business.
Yeah, it does.
Kind of like, that was Michelle Obama's, part of being first lady.
Oh,
it's none your business that I'm a man.
If I can circle back, in regards to Michelle Obama, you guys were talking about it earlier. Do you think that there's a plan that they want to try to get her in office?
Oh, absolutely. Well, either her or Newsom. Newsom is now going against the gender. Was it the gender stuff? He's now moving middle. I'm not going to say middle, moving further away from the far left by disallowing the gender mutilation of children. So he'll at least gain a little bit of the Democrat voter that's not out of their mind. And then you've got Michelle Obama still lurking. And the way that they have done this whole thing to make sure RFK can't run in Georgia or whatever in the primary, and essentially having if somebody else puts their hat in the game besides the loony lady that I actually really like, I always forget her name, Marianne Williamson, and RFK Jr., and they decide to have a primary, you'll know this whole thing was fixed from the start.
Who are we talking about? We're talking about Newsom and who?
Michelle.
Oh, Michael. Big Mike. Okay.
All right. So
okay.
if Big Mike did if Big Mike did a pay-per-view as a gender reveal, would you watch it?
No.
And no. And Stevie, that is not true at all. I actually predict Casey was there. You know that I've said for months Newsom would throw his hat in the ring. Since all the way back when you said that months ago, I've always said Newsom. I thought Newsom was the heir apparent, actually, from day one, I said he was the heir apparent to be honest. I'm surprised that he has not announced to this point. So maybe that might have been actually, you know what? That might have been Dave and Barb that said that, because I think Casey and I both thought this.
Yeah, I can't say I'm surprised he's not announced, because the Democratic Party has to admit that they're gonna let Biden back out before that happens.
Yeah.
I think we're already seeing the stage being set. Fox News having the debate between DeSantis and Newsom, only those two on the stage, which is absolutely stupid, moderated by Hannity. I think it's setting the stage for that to be a possibility. For some reason, two people that have zero chance to win an election is going to go on a debate stage for Fox News in front of Hannity. Absolutely dumb.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, it's DeSantis versus Newsom, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think? Absolutely. He's Newsom's one of the only his record can't stand against Trump, but he's one of the only people that can actually debate. I mean, I think he'd still lose, but I think that he's just as dirty in the debate game. I think he does. And then Michelle Obama is a dangerous weapon against Trump in a debate, because at the end of the day, the media will just spin it as, Trump's punching down on the black woman.
Yeah, they will use every psyop possible when it comes to gender, pigmentation, when it comes to equality, when it comes to race, when it comes to religions. They will use everything. That would be the greatest weapon, is to get Michelle Obama up there, because we have become so afraid of our own shadow that we won't say things because we're afraid to be called a name.
Yeah. Trump will literally use the words, Michelle, what have you really done in your career that proves you could be a president? And immediately would be like, did you hear that? Donald Trump said that a black woman has done nothing with her life. It's like, that's the way it is. So let's get into race right now. So, there's a lot talking about, well, it's on the list of things to talk about, Casey. So Asian hate crimes, black hate crimes, obviously on the rise. They talk about these things being hate crimes. And the irony is, the bulk of these crimes, specifically to Asian hate crimes, 80% of Asian hate crimes that happen in New York, which is the leading state in terms of Asian hate crimes, were committed by black people, black men specifically. And then as we talk about, all these horrible things happening to black people, especially if you look at Hawk Newsom's page, which I report his page every time, because he is literally threatening violence to police. He's saying, when are we going to arm up? And I was told by Instagram, it is not a violation of their incitement of violence, when he is literally saying, when are people in this community going to arm up and get back at these police officers? So he's allowed to say that, which is shocking to me. And yes, he posts the 1-out videos of a cop throwing down a 14-year-old black girl, which is wrong. But let's look at the bulk of all the other black crime that happens to black people that should be addressed. Who is doing it? Black men. Like, I don't know how to not sound racist. And I literally was having a conversation with myself. If this is deemed as racist, if you want to use the word racism because I am thinking in this manner, but that thinking is actually based in fact and logic, then is it wrong to be racist in that sense? And I don't think it is anymore, because if we're going to ignore the facts and continue to blame white people for something that is being predominantly done by black men, my question is, when does logic overtake the verbiage of racism?
Logic will never overtake, because people are not that smart enough to allow it to. Because like you just said, you feel racist just having the conversation. People feel racist just saying a black man. They feel like they got to be politically correct and do the whole African-American thing. We have become that light on our feet, brother, that language has become something that we have to walk through, cut glass, just to make sure we don't offend somebody in that conversation. We've allowed the society to become this when safe spaces became a real thing.
I agree. And there's the safe spaces, and then you've got, and you can blame anything. So for example, what David is talking about is they brought a Nazi into the Canadian Parliament and celebrated him. And when they found out they screwed up, instead of going, we screwed up, they blamed Russian disinformation. And the thing is, the leftist media, which is 91% of the news that comes out, 91% of the news avoids this and goes along with the Russian disinformation, which is clearly a lie. Like it is misinformation at the highest level, and we can't see it. Which also, I mean, I want to continue to talk about the hate crime side, but one of the other conversations that we were going to have was regarding Rudy Giuliani and Hunter Biden's laptop. Hunter Biden is suing Rudy Giuliani for defrauding him and exposing his dirty secrets and saying that was illegal what he did, when for months we were told that this was Russian disinformation and a complete lie. So now Hunter Biden and his team are going on the offensive by saying they overstepped my privacy. But for years now, the left has thought that the privacy doesn't need to be infringed because it's not true. Just the same way as the Canadian Parliament situation, and just the same way as white people are killing black people at an alarming rate, and white supremacy is the biggest threat in this country. It is all a blatant, dangerous lie.
Dude, from 2020 to 2021, hate crimes towards blacks went up 14%. Hate crimes towards whites went up 27%. Hate crimes towards gay went up to 41%. Here's the big one this is why I pulled it up. Asians. From 2020 to 2021, hate crimes against Asians went up 167%.
So think about the percentage of increase. If it goes up 100 and what?
167% in 1 year.
So if it goes up 160%, and you're talking about 80% of it is black on Asian crime, which we can go before that all the way back to Michael Brown. Let's not forget Michael Brown just beat a Asian store owner before he never had his hands up. If you're talking, so 80%, so that means all of those crimes. So 80% of that increase in crimes, black people.
Yeah, and this information, just if people want to know, came from the marshallproject.org, which is a very credentialed site. So, but whether they're left or right, that's their statistics.
And in terms of race-based hate crimes, crime statistics across the board are very hard to come by after 2018 because they've grouped everybody into the same color. And it's much, much harder to find unless you compile local numbers. And why they did that is because it destroys the narrative that they want to have that white people are committing all of these crimes. Now, just like every other race, the predominance of white crime happens from other white people. But the number 2 or number 1, Asian, I believe, is the only one where it's actually a different race that commits the bulk of the violent crimes against that race, which is black. Black people lead, obviously, in their own proximity for black people. Black people are a very close second to white people in terms of white violent crime. They lead in Asian crime. What is the going factor across the board? Right now, black men specifically commit the bulk of the violent crimes in this country that aren't committed between the same race. And we ignore it and we pretend as though black people are being hunted down. Well, it's absolutely absurd.
You know how you push that statistic too? Is that because I think technically when some of these mobs go into these stores, that could be qualified as a violent crime because they go in there and they ransack a facility and then they steal as much as they can. So now they changed the law that says you can steal under this amount of money and it won't be a felony. It'll be just a misdemeanor, not even a gross misdemeanor, just a misdemeanor. And when you look at the crunch in statistics, when you take that statistic out with the violent thefts, dude, they're covering up a lot of these statistics are not probably remotely accurate compared to the things that they're doing to cover up just with new laws.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't believe them. They don't make any sense. And you're giving even your documentation, you're giving a statistic that they'll find a way to avoid saying that a white person, was a hate crime. They'll just say the thing. Yeah, we don't even refer to it as a hate crime. There's Woody's whooping cough back there. They're going to think of it as just a crime. When a black person gets a crime from a white person, it's a hate crime. When a black person commits a crime on a white person, it's just crime. Woody.
Well, it was no different than the actual statistics when Trump was talking about the amount of Mexican women that get raped that are coming to this country illegally. And the number is astonishing. It's like 80% of illegal women that come into this country get raped. And they could have very simply just explained his reference just so the American people had an understanding of the horrors that some of these people go through to come into this country. They could have put that fire out right away, but they ran with that for like 2 years about Trump talking about Mexicans are rapists.
Yeah, and so that reminds me, and I don't know if Casey, if you had a chance to watch what I put on Truth Will Set You Free, and I tell everybody to go to the link on YouTube. It's lower down on the page, probably like 5 days ago. There's a video. It's black conservatives versus white liberals. So good. One of the best 45-minute hours I've spent in my entire life. And the conversation is probably the most contentious, where there really was no the black conservatives didn't crush it in terms of shutting down the white liberals in terms of Trump, but they talked about how Trump. They said that they talked about the shithole countries. They talked about Mexican people being racist, and it's like, or Mexican people being murderers and whatever. It's just mind-boggling that that's their thought process when he simply said some of the people coming across the border are rapists and murderers. Yep. And then they used a point of reference that is a complete lie manufactured by mainstream media, that Donald Trump didn't allow people of color in his Trump towers and in his buildings, and nobody refuted it. Besides that, it was really a great show, but nobody refuted it. Like, that has a blatant lie. And anybody that has known Trump or known what Trump did in the 80s and the 90s, yes, he had some lawsuits against him. That's because the 80s, and I've said this a million times on this show, that was the it craze for ambulance chasers was to find landlords and have discrimination lawsuits because they were handing out money like left and right. It was bullshit. And you know what? Would I say that Trump has ever used the N-word in his whole entire life? I bet he has.
Sure.
And find me another liberal from 1980s, and I bet they all have. Would he say it now? Probably not. Biden has said it a million friggin' times. Right. It's just mind-boggling that the derangement in this. But I encourage everybody to go scroll down, click on that link, and watch it. It's a brilliant 45 minutes because it actually gives great arguments coming from black people that are literally they're exposing the idiocy of the far left that is literally going, this is how black people think. And black people go, not all of this. And they go, well, that's because your brain is rooted in white supremacy. And it's like, holy shit, you are a racist piece of garbage. Yep. And you're the one calling us that for allowing black people to have their own opinion.
From 2021 to 2022, the 7 cities that had the biggest increases in hate crimes: Dallas, Texas was number 7 at 3.6. New York was number 6 at 14.3. Houston, number 5 at 26.5. Number 4 is Philadelphia at 29.8. Number 3, the biggest increase in hate crimes is Los Angeles at 40.6. Number 2, Austin, Texas with 58.6 increase. And the number 1 city with the highest increase from 21 to 22 hate crimes would be Chicago, Illinois, with an 84.6% increase in hate crimes.
So there's a lot of Texas in there. 3 of the 7 are Texas.
Yep.
And the people on the left will go, well, Texas is red, so it's clearly a red issue. But what do all the cities have in common? Yep. They're all heavily led by Democrat officials. I know Dallas just had their mayor switch parties, but as a whole, every municipality, the leaders of the police department, every bit of those cities are blue. Any elected official is blue, and the policies that they enact that lead to high crime and high hate crime is blue.
Yep. Yeah, and I can almost pinpoint what parts of these cities these crimes are coming from.
Yeah.
Which is pretty sad. So, but on a side note, San Antonio had a decrease of 33%.
Do you know why that is?
No.
Well, that is, even though that city is blue, and this is going to sound racist again, that city is predominantly Hispanic. Then Hispanics have been changing their I don't want to say changing their moral code, but they have been one of the most outspoken shifting to red groups that there is. Hispanics are going back to their religious and Christian roots, and that city is led, even though a lot of them are Democrats, it's being led by a Hispanic population that is sick of seeing their name besmirched and soiled by people at the border, by the cartels, by the illegal immigrants, and they're trying to do better as a community. And I think that's a perfect example of the fact that we need to stop coddling Black people. We need to start calling out the issues in the Black community and the culture and the fact that there is a crime epidemic, and it's not white to Black. The crime epidemic is Black on everything else. And you could look at the 80s crime bills and the drug epidemic and what the government did and screwed them over. We could look at all those problems. But fact is, if we pretend there is not a problem, there will never be anything fixed. And there is a problem in the Black community. I'm not going to say whose fault it is. I don't know whose fault it is. I can tell you it's probably governors, legislation, left, right, Republicans, conservatives, Democrats. It's everybody's fault why they got here. But to fix it, the reason why it's still going on is because of liberal politics, Democrat-run cities, Democrat politics, and the mainstream media ignoring that there is a problem. And because of people like us, that when I say Black on Black crime, I can get fired for a job for being a racist. That's the problem.
Well, and the problem there is too, is that is when you say something like that, it'll actually take you away from the conversation of fixing the problem, because we get so derailed all the time with the societal emotional conversations that come along with some of these topics. So we'll never get to the conclusion of some of this stuff, because we're sitting here so micro focused on what are we choosing to be offended by today.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Son of a bitches.
He's not the best color man in the business for nothing, everybody. You hear Casey drop in that, yep.
Dude, I felt that kind of went through my third.
It was perfect. It was a perfectly timed yep.
Do you want me to show you?
What are you showing us?
You want to see it?
What are you showing us? Your yep?
It's awkward.
You know my thing. What? Why are you doing that for, bro? Why you put me on pressure like that? Put me on full screen.
I wanted to. If you're showing us your thing, you need as much size help as possible.
That's a fact. I do when I go. The only reason I carry reading glasses is so when I go take a piss.
Oh, that's got a bifocal. So let's end the show with how this Truth Will Set You Free episode 1 started. Let's talk about COVID, and let's talk about that. After 3 years, the Mayo Clinic is finally recommending the use an early therapeutic of hydroxychloroquine. After 3 years of us saying that it works, and after the Lancet came out with the article from a completely flawed perspective that hydroxychloroquine is killing people, and was retracted on the 37th page of a document 3 weeks later, and finding out that it was a completely fraudulent firm that had nobody working for it, that created it by a doctor that was in the process of losing his license, that was clearly paid by big pharma, because they needed there to be no other possible treatment so they could force a vaccine that was put through by Donald Trump, by the way, and hydroxychloroquine. Now, the Mayo Clinic is saying it is one of the recommended treatments for COVID.
So we don't need the vaccine anymore.
Well, no, they still say you need it. They still say you need it. Even Mayo Clinic will still say that. But they want to give as many options for this next run. So like the crazy people like Stella Emanuel that were living on it, Dr. Pierre Corey that were saying that, if you do the Zelensky protocol with hydroxychloroquine, zinc, all these things, and they said, I have thousands of patients that have all come to me of all ages, of all levels of health, and nobody has died because we give early treatment of these things. You're crazy. You're full of shit. You're killing people. You're doing all these different things, and you're losing your license.
Is it Dr. David Martin? Is that who I'm thinking of?
For what? I know the name.
The guy who did the dossier on Fauci. I'm gonna get him on the program. I'm gonna get him on here. That's where I was going with that. He did the dossier on Fauci, man, and boy, I'm gonna tell you something. I actually have the dossier. I'll send it to you. You can read it.
I'm finally gonna have some free time to put up my episode with the doctor I had a couple weeks ago, and I did blunt force discussion, and we talked a lot about the treatments and how his license. It was almost a month ago, so I'm forgetting the show, but it's crazy what was done to him for standing up against the pharmaceutical industry and all that stuff. So I'll throw that up, but it's just the fact that 3.5 years later, people like Jay, who I respect, who is on the opposite side, and people that I'm friends with that yelled at me like hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, it's terrible. You're an idiot. You're this and that. And now it's recommended. And it's almost like they're not going to take blame for it. They're simply going to say, well, now there's new research that has come out. No. There's no new research.
Well, the research was there because that's the same shit we use to validate that when we were saying that's what you should be doing.
Yeah.
You know? Wow, bro.
A lot of I told you so's at this
It's just it kind of gets old, you know, it kind of gets tiring, you know, dancing around this stupid. You know, I wonder if secretly they feel dumb, you know, just a little
They
bit.
have to see if they don't secretly feel dumb, then they're even dumber than if they don't feel dumb. They're a next level dumb. They're like, you know, either they're like Kamala Harris dumb if they admit it, or they are Forrest Gump dumb if they don't admit it.
So I think what we should do as a celebratory way as we launch the Rocci and Russo show, I think we should go to indoor skydiving, and we should try to do indoor skydiving as a good time and let people witness it.
I've always wanted to do that. I've done real skydiving. I've never done.
Casey, you got to put on the tight.
Yeah, let's try it.
We'll do it.
Casey, come to Dallas. We'll do it.
Yeah. We'll have to coordinate that.
Yeah.
Dude, I am for it. I want to wear the super tightest freaking costume they have.
Oh, Jesus.
I would like to have a little bit more padding on my balls if that's much wind is going on there. So I got big balls, Casey. I'm all wheels, no cannon. So, you know.
Bro. Let's see.
Anyways, so let's go through the plans. Rocky, when is our first official episode? Where are people going to be able to see it? All that stuff.
So the biggest thing, one of the things that we did when we started out the program was kind of talk about or just staying towards social media. And so one of these things with me and with Anthony and so many other like-minded people, we have lost multiple platforms over the years. So Rocci and Russo Experience is going to be on Spreely TV, which is actually a well-established conservative network that's been around for a very, very long time. They have a very, very large viewing audience, and they're also on Roku. They're on Amazon TV. They're on, I mean, all the different platforms that you can watch it on, they're on, and they're continuing to add more locations. So we will have the links because I think we're still going to do I'll talk with these guys offline on the YouTube, and because some people prefer certain things, but we will have a website. There will be a chat there. There will be a live stream video there. Everything will be right there. We'd like to get everybody into a singular location. But we also understand that expecting everybody to jump to a different site to watch is not the easiest thing to do. So we'll talk offline to see if all the different platforms you can watch the program, but we're trying to create a spot where everybody can meet instead of having people all over the place and not interacting with one another. So we'll keep everybody posted. It's going to be the first official week in October, starting on Monday night. It'll be Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, Russo, or Thursdays? Mondays, Wednesdays.
We'll start with Mondays and Wednesdays until the end of football season. We'll do that to start, and then we'll figure it out from there.
Because of the fact of all the travel that he does, that actually works out perfect. But there's a lot of really cool things. And on top of just the radio stuff, Russo, myself, KC, we also are going to be doing a whole bunch of other stuff. We got a thing going with the Dallas Cowboys. We're doing their celebrity golf games. We're doing a lot of local events here in Dallas, Fort Worth, where we're going to be going out and doing sizzle reels, fun reels for these companies, and doing some great promo work. So we're blessed in a lot of ways. A lot of our frustrations are the same, but you know, a lot of frustrations turn into blessings in their weird ways. And I'm honored to be here with these two gentlemen. And the things that are coming down the pipeline is overwhelming and exciting at the same time. So stick with us, folks, because we're going to have a fun time.
Careful talking about the Cowboys. Casey will not help us with Cowboys. He is a diehard 70-20 Denver Broncos fan.
Yes, players that come to these events from the Broncos, we're good. We're covered.
Yeah. Well, I can always just bring it up. The only way DeMarcus Ware got a championship ring is coming over to the Broncos, so that's all right.
Dude, if you wore Broncos jersey to these events, that is great material, bro.
It is.
I'll do it.
I could do that's like a 45-minute sizzle reel.
It is. Glenn, there's plenty. There's a lot. And a lot of them are more of the holistic side of the medical field. But there's a bunch you can Google, and I actually just explained that hydroxychloroquine is now recommended by the Mayo Clinic.
If you go to America's Frontline Doctors or something like that, something like that, you can go to that site and they will have links that you can click that bring you.
But Rocky, those aren't real doctors.
Right.
They're America's Frontline Doctors.
They were so vicious. They deserve an apology. They really do.
Guys, you stop talking about doctors. Doctors are nothing. Trust your government. Your government will take care of you.
I'm trying to it's funny. You could do a Google search, but yeah. So American Frontline Doctors, just because the media has told you that they're not doctors doesn't mean they're not actual doctors. And there's a lot of them that actually came out and said it, but they were demonized for it. So you can say, where are the doctors? There's thousands of them that were doing it.
Actually was part of the studies in Africa with hydroxychloroquine that actually helped figure out that it worked with malaria. That's pretty credentialed if you ask me, but what do I know?
Yeah. And then there's if you have any friends with rheumatoid arthritis or lupus, they all have been taking hydroxychloroquine for a long time. And by the way, what's funny? I don't know if you've heard these studies, and there probably has, but I don't know if there was a peer reviewed, but there was studies that the people with rheumatoid arthritis and lupus, and Kelly being one of them, but she hasn't taken hydroxychloroquine very much. But a lot of those people, the immunocompromised that were using hydroxychloroquine, had a lower rate, just like smokers, had a lower rate of hospitalization when they had COVID. It's weird. So it's like prophylactically, they weren't taking it for COVID, but prophylactically they were, because they were taking it for their other issues, and they had a much lower incident rate with COVID. But I mean, fuck anecdotal.
Dude,
anyway.
I gotta tell you, we're all rooting for Kelly, man. We're all rooting. She pulled out today. She's heading up north. She's going up to the Dakotas. And I gotta tell you something, man. It's been really fun watching this, man. It's been fun watching you on the football too, but I hope she just kicks some ass and she qualifies.
Where's that video? Do you want to end the show with that video? Because I'm not gonna lie, I got really excited to make that video. I love me some Rocky. I love me some
what?
Where is it? The video that you're talking about Kelly going up north.
Here, you want the one that you put on Facebook that she's driving away?
Yeah. Throw it up there. That's what we're gonna end the show.
All right, love you guys. Peace.
I think it's inspirational. Don't you feel like it's inspirational, Rocky?
Dude, I'm inspired right now.
Here she comes.
I love it.
Victory. Wait for it.
Well, then I guess there's only one thing left to do. What's that? Win the whole fucking thing. One of the best scenes ever. Yeah.
One thing I want you to do for me.
What?
Come here.
Oh,
Also one of the best scenes ever.
I can't.
Win.
Oh,
Win.
What are we waiting for? Take us!
By the way, Kelly hates this shit. So if you don't know, if you don't know, Kelly has to, so she's been in the top 15 all year. She has to make the top 15 in order to go to the NFR. She's now in 17th or 18th. She ended up by the fact that one of the other competitors' daughter is getting married, can't make this Governor's Cup, which pays $10,000 a round and also $25,000 a win. And she needs about 20 to 22,000 to guarantee qualifying. So she pretty much has to win the whole thing. So she's got one last chance. So it's like she can't just go and do good. She has to win it. So
where's the problem? I don't see a problem with this.
I don't see a problem with that either. I don't see a problem. We're out of here.
Love you guys.
Love y'all. Take it easy. God bless. Godspeed. I'll catch you next week. The support of the show, go to patreon.com/BeTheChangeUSA. Other options to support, of course, CenturyH2O.com. Use Russo10 for 10% off on your water filtration system in your house. It's about $300 and it saves you, well, trust me, it's less than Britain. It's much better water. And lastly, if you like to check out our merch, go to AwakeNotWokeStore.com. Use Awake for 15% off. God bless. Godspeed. Take it easy, bitches.